welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Kraus.
Yes, it's time to bumble along. We're going to bumble all your questions, or we're going to answer all your questions. Is bumble?
No,
are we gonna?
might be right.
We're gonna bumble them all. We're gonna bumble everything because that's what we do. We're like Smurfs, except we bumble everything instead of Smurf everything. Is that how this works?
Oh no! Here comes GargleCast.
Yeah, scary.
He's going to turn us into gold so he can eat us or something.
Sure, I don't know what happens in the Smurfs. I think the Smurfs were a little bit before my time, so
okay.
I kind of missed most of it. But I mean, I have a vague understanding and knowledge of the Smurfs, but I think I'm right on that edge of I kind of missed the boat on them. So
I know I was big into them back in the day. I don't have more than just a handful of factoids off the top of my head, but
we're
not talking about Smurfs. We're talking about answering your questions, and as we did a little while ago, we're splitting the episode in two because, my goodness, you people are just voracious in your questionable appetites.
Especially lately, yes.
So, once again, this is going to be a patron-exclusive episode. You guys get priority. Everyone else, though, who's asked questions for the standard Q&A, don't you worry, you're coming up this coming Wednesday, so sit tight. But for now, we're going to move into the priority Q&A. But before that, we have to lay some ground rules. Number one, if you want to ask us a question, you email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, tweet to us at BumbleKast, and if you want priority, you can go over to Ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast. Send $6 our way to become a priority Q&A patron, or become a patron over at Patreon.com/BumbleKast. Throw $5 our way. Also get bumped to the head of the line. If the question has been answered within the last couple of episodes, we're not going to answer it because we just did that. If it's covered in one of the FAQs over on BumbleKing.com, we're not going to answer it because clearly we've already answered it. And if you're asking for details on what might have been with the Archie Sonic comics, not going to answer that either because I'm going to cover all that in Lost Hedgehog Tales when things finally settle down behind the scenes and I feel comfortable and in the clear to put that out there without causing trouble for other people on other things. So, Kyle, let us begin to commence to start.
Let us begin. We shall start now. First up, Ink Pants. Ian, you delightful bakery snack sitting on the bottom shelf of a small Italian restaurant. Has there ever been a moment where you found yourself really hitting a wall in your Sonic writing, Archie or IDW, that was just preventing you from making any progress, and how did you overcome it? I'm talking that creative wall we all hit from time to time, where you know what victory looks like, but it just punches you in the face and says, no, there will be no words today. I'd be curious what impact these moments have, if any, on the production pipeline.
So I'm like the 3-day-old croissant that they kind of forgot?
I don't know what that means exactly. I've never been to a small Italian restaurant. I've only been to large Italian restaurant establishments.
Personally, I enjoy stale bread because I believe I'm part duck, but that's neither here nor there.
Sure.
In terms of writing block, when it comes to Sonic, story-wise, not really. Sonic is an immeasurably fertile ground for creative ideas. And whether it is game material or pre-established comic material, there is always the question of, okay, what next? If this happened here, what became of it? So in that regard, it's never really been an issue to think of what to do next. Now, after all the brouhaha that was the Metal Virus saga, I was kind of sitting there going, what do you do for an encore? And then I was told Evan was going to take over as lead writer. I'm like, it's not my problem anymore. The occasional stumbling block has come from Sega's approvals when they say you can't use that, or that bit of canon is no longer canonical. And that takes me a moment to stir the pot and figure out another approach. But 9 times out of 10, what comes of it is superior anyway. So that's more of a fun puzzle challenge. You know, here I've crafted this epic story where Mephiles comes back from the dead and uses his time powers to resurrect Black Doom just to get revenge on Shadow. You can't use Mephiles or Black Doom. Well, what if it was Eclipse? Oh yes, Eclipse is much better. And there you go. The greatest hurdle I have when it comes to writing is just doing. Sitting down, opening up the word processor, and getting to work. Not so much as finding the muse because I need inspiration, but just finding the energy to commit my brain to that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard. It's what I do. It's what I enjoy. Just put text to screen. But it does sometimes take a lot to just push that boulder over the edge. Once I get going, then I'm usually pretty good. Especially if I already have my notes and stuff and research already prepped, because then I can just go, and then I'll lose like 2 or 3 hours in a row, and it's like, oh, I had other things to do today. But that's my biggest issue personally. Isn't so much the inspiration or the creativity, it's the doing.
The motivation, in a sense.
I've got plenty of motivation. There's stuff that I want to do because I have a ball with this and, I need to pay bills. I am not a rich man, but I don't know, just sometimes finding the focus is really tricky, especially with the way things are right now. But I think everybody's kind of suffering from that. So I'm not really the special one in that regard.
No, but it is all having an effect. I know I'm even having, like, what the heck is going on? What do I do? Moments. So, yeah, it's needless to say, it's pretty interesting lately. All right, next up, Scruffymatt. I've got a hypothetical question for you today. In IDW Sonic number 29, we saw Sonic and Silver transform into their super forms at the last second and save the day. What I'm wondering is, what would have happened had Zavok been just that little bit quicker and managed to stop them? If Zavok had managed to squash Sonic and Silver between his palms, would he have become infected by the metal virus from touching Sonic? Would crushing the warp topaz they were holding have set off a black hole or something? Or if Zavok had managed to survive, what then? The rest of the Deadly Six had been taken down by Zombots, except possibly Zaz. It looked like he might have been out of their reach, so his entire team would probably be gone. The face ship was destroyed, so he wouldn't be able to watch and gloat from above. And if the warp topaz was destroyed, I don't know why I said it like that. He may not have had any way of getting back to the Lost Hex. I'm curious as to how things could have played out.
Bad end. That's the short answer. So, had Zavok managed to squish our heroes, Warp Topaz without any power can't do anything. So that would have just been shattered. Because he was Chaos Emerald empowered at the time, he would be temporarily immune to infection. That's how he was able to throw the handfuls of Zombots. He had kind of an EM shield around his body. So in the short term, he would have won. Everyone would have died or been infected, and the plague would have spread unchecked. Now, over the intervening 200 years, the metal virus would have continued to mutate so that it would eventually have gotten past his shield, assuming that he was able to maintain his monstrous form the entire time, and he would eventually have fallen to them. And then, just as Eggman predicted, the virus would continue to degrade their hosts until all organic life that wasn't plant-based would have degraded, with the plant life itself eventually decaying beyond the 200-year mark. So Silver's bad future would have come to pass one way or the other had our heroes not been fast enough. But it's Sonic, so of course he's fast enough.
Is he, though? Is he?
Well, you've read it, haven't you? Next question.
I've told you this, I think. I'm very behind on Sonic. I've been spoiled on everything. And that's fine. I expect it. It's fine.
Kind of an occupational hazard at this point.
It really is. I can't avoid it. So it's like kind of pointless to even bother. No big deal, actually. I'm just always like super behind on things just because it used to be so convenient. I'd get them delivered to my mailbox. I'd go out to my mailbox, I'd grab them, and the Sonic comics would be right there. But now I have to wait because I can't always go to the store, or I don't want to necessarily order each individual one and have to pay each individual one's shipping costs. So, it would be nice if IDW could do some mail subscriptions, but that seems to kind of only be a thing Archie does at this point. That's kind of an old school way of doing comics, I guess. I don't do that so much anymore. Kind of a shame. So, that's okay. Next up, tKoS. There have been a few things you've told us that were originally intended for the Archie reboot, such as the Metal Virus Saga and Mimic. It makes me curious to know if there's anything else we've seen so far in IDW that was intended for Archie, or even things that appeared in Reboot but were originally planned for pre-reboot.
Currently, there's nothing else that I can immediately remember that was post-reboot plans that got transplanted into IDW. I think we've pretty much exhausted that. There's one idea that I had on the table for Sonic Universe as the next big overarching plotline, but that was so early stage planning, and I don't know. That's probably never going to see the light of day, except in Lost Hedgehog Tales. Pre-reboot coming over to post? I'd have to look at my notes again, but I don't think so, because everything that was pre-reboot was all built on the legacy of that era of the book.
Right.
So anything that would have grown out of it was reliant on all that had come before and been established, and all of that was, no touchy, inaccessible. So you just couldn't retool any of it. Or you could, but at that point, what are you doing? You're just making up new storylines anyway, so you might as well start from scratch.
Yeah. Makes sense. Next question comes from Ian Waffles. Delicious Ian Waffles. Now with syrup.
Let go my ego.
Some people say you have an enormous ego. I don't know where they get that from, but that's what they say.
Probably the shadow that it casts across the planet, but what can I say?
Well,
I'm humble.
Well, that explains where the light went. Hey, Ian. Regardless of how dark the Metal Virus Saga has been, I don't think you've ever truly topped your work on Eggman during the pre-reboot days of Archie. Regardless of the scale of IDW Eggman's tyranny, it seems like the tone and cruelty of Archie's Eggman was much different. Would you agree with this observation, or do you think IDW Eggman is portrayed the same as his Archie counterpart? And what has informed the way you write the character in both series? Do you ever think you went too far?
I'd say it's not a fair comparison at this point, because IDW Sonic is 32 issues long, and Eggman was absent for the first 12.
Yeah.
This is the first major scheme we see him do, and most of the arc was focusing on the degradation of the world, not on Eggman himself. So over time, when we see more of IDW Eggman, then I think we can do more of a one-to-one, but you're comparing a 260-issue run, more or less, to 32, and that does not compute. For my part, I don't think I've written him particularly differently in any incarnation. Once I picked up pre-reboot, I wanted to steer him closer to the game counterpart. In post-reboot, I wanted him to feel familiar to his pre-reboot incarnation, which was already steered towards the game counterpart. And IDW is just an extension of that, or rather a continuation, really. In my mind, they're all the same, at least in how my approach is. I don't feel like I had a very different mindset when composing Eggman in any of those scenarios. Going too far? Yeah, maybe. I still look back on Tommy Turtle's explosive demise and go, wah, maybe that was a bit much, what with seeing his body being atomized. But it was also a product of the time. Everyone hated Tommy, and it was a big issue that resolved, oh goodness, how many lingering plot points. And it still remains kind of a fan favorite. I think that the point that everyone was so sick of Tommy and was very eager to see him die brutally, and then he did so, and they were like, oh, that was sad. Actually, maybe bring him back again. It's like, nope. I did my job too well. There's another one that folks really seem to enjoy, the first-person story, well, 90% first-person, where he's implanting the explosive into Lee and Da, and more or less laying the groundwork for the entire Dark Egg Legion mentality, the explanation of that whole subplot. And that's where folks go, woo, that's super dark. But it's also so fun. I mean, he's very charismatic. That's why I love the character so much. Is he's literally talking to someone as they're conscious on an operating table, talking about how he's going to take over their life because he's putting a bomb in them. And you can't help but chuckle at him a little bit. Now, part of that's Jamal Peppers' art, and Jamal's phenomenal. Wish I could do more with him. But just the concept alone is like super dark. And if you put it in any other context and said, hey, Ian, did you hear what they did in the Sonic book? I would have probably gone, ugh, a little too grimdark, a little too try hard, except that's what I did. So I don't know. It might work within context. Maybe that was too much, and it's a good thing that it's gone. I will leave that up to you guys to debate in the comments of the YouTube video below after you ring the thumb and press the bell and all that jazz.
Yes, push all the buttons, the up or the down, either one. It doesn't matter. YouTube treats it all the same. That's why you get bad videos recommended to you, just in case you're wondering. Next up, we got one from Off. I'm just going to ask what everyone's thinking and chuckle when I get an ambiguous, dismissive answer. So, when is Tangle and Whisper's wedding?
You know what? I don't know. This might be a decision that is out of my hands. Because it was my intention with the two of them was a story arc of friendship and someone helping someone else through a troubled time. And I believe that is accomplished, and folks are all on board for their friendship. But this is the internet. You can't hold hands without it being scandalous and a marriage proposal. So there is a very vocal Tangle Whisper pairing side of the fandom. You are heard, you are seen. I get you. And I'm not saying that it's a bad pairing, but again, I'm not going to endorse any ships. But look at this. The fandom was so vocal, Tangle and Whisper got their own freaking mini within a year of the book's launch. That's insane.
Yeah.
The fandom was so vocal of their love for these two, they got into the mobile games. That is unprecedented. So if you really want to see the two of them develop a relationship beyond friendship, tell IDW. I might get the note one day to say, yeah, pull the trigger. Let's go all the way with them. And if not, or if there's other hurdles, they will remain good friends, which is also good and wholesome and totally acceptable because not everyone has to hook up with everybody. Otherwise, Sonic would have no free time. I've seen the internet. I know what you people do to him.
It's okay. Sonic likes it. Not always, but mostly, I think. But yeah, you may not endorse any ships, but I will. Tankspur for life, buddy.
Hey, tweet it, email it, promote it. I am perfectly fine with it.
I am not the spokesperson for Tankspur. Someone else get on that, but I will happily endorse it. Yes, I am here for it. I prefer
Wispangle myself because that's more fun to say.
Wispangle is good. Tankspur, it doesn't matter. I will accept them all. Also, while we're at it, Sally Cole for life.
Yeah,
make it happen.
I guess while we're listening, let's go ahead and throw up hashtag rally for Sally. Get her back in the book.
Yep. That one was Sally Cole was almost canon. Almost.
See, I hate to bring that up again because it is
I know
taken on a life of
it
its
is
own.
such a hot button issue. I know.
But what's so funny is that nobody picked up on it until I pointed it out.
No, I know.
It wasn't an issue until I said, hey, did you catch this? And then it was like, oh my God, it's clearly taking over the book. It's like, we didn't even put it in the book yet.
Yeah,
We were pushing in that direction. We
Yeah.
laid like the first layer of foundation.
Yeah, and you didn't even write the story that sort of set
Yeah,
set
I
the
know.
groundwork for that. And yet, but you get all the blame for it still. Which I
You want
guess
people
is
to actually read things.
what? No, are you insane? Read things on the internet? Why would you do that when you can just rage instead? Rage is a lot more fun.
You're
than-
already missing out because my gigantic ego is blocking out the sun. You might as well read something.
I
You're
guess.
already mad at me for that. Come on.
Yeah,
Why do
I
you need
know,
more?
I know. Keep your ego in check, dude. Come on. Come on.
We've got a new patron.
We do. Let's get this one here from Groovy K2000. Whoa, Groovy K2000. It's been stated in the Sonic Comic Encyclopedia that the original Robotnik was the only one erased by the Ultimate Annihilator, thanks to Snively targeting his DNA. If that's the case, then why did Sonic need to be saved by the billionth ring? We see him escape that void of nothingness and come back to life thanks to the ring. Man, this is going way back.
Yeah, it's a solid question.
It is.
Short answer is sloppy writing, but
I feel like you're asking the wrong person. But that's okay.
Let's just spitball here. Like, okay, so Ultimate Annihilator beam, when it hit Knothole and didn't have anyone pre-targeted, was so powerful that it warped space-time and threw him into a pocket dimension.
Why? I don't know. That's a weird thing.
I'm just going by the established canon.
I know, but I'm just wondering why it happened and what the point of it was. It was so weird.
Now, it also hit Robotropolis, and nobody but Eggman was targeted, so Robotropolis should also have been in a pocket dimension, but anyway, so let's just say Sonic was like at the epicenter of the beam. He was literally on top of Robotnik when he got ultimately annihilated.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of world reality shift and juice pumping through him. We'll say the billionth ring stopped him from being temporally, dimensionally distorted as well.
Sure. Ultimate Annihilator. I feel like that's a good name for a doomsday device.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I appreciate that name, Ultimate Annihilator. It's good. It's good.
I'm not sure if I'm wild about it being a cannon that has to bank shot a laser off a satellite, but
well, you know.
Going to take a break for our patron spotlight. Today we're looking at TikTik. TikTik writes fantasy stories for the 18-plus crowd. TikTik's main series, The Adventures of TikTik, the continuing journeys of a curious kobold wizard who seeks to meet many friends with benefits that she can find. The current story arc is the Tournament of Pleasure, featuring a collection of characters from TikTik's series and other 18-plus creators from around the internet, going face-to-face with winners decided by reader vote. TikTik also accepts commissions and loves working with other creatives to collaborate on stories. Find out more at patreon.com/TikTikKobold and at TikTikKobold on Twitter.
Papatree Popolis is next. This one is kind of strange. Thoughts on Gundam? I'm assuming the two of you watched Wing. It aired on Toonami, so Americans love it. But how can I get you guys to watch the ones directed by the original director, Yoshiyuki Tomino? The ones that, in my opinion, are the best and most interesting, with the weirdest and most genuine messages and thoughts on society, war, and giant robots. I need to know, you guys will have experienced such a wide cast of characters through Tomino's Gundam works. 0079, Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, Victory, F91, Crossbone, Turn A, G Reiko, as Casval, Rem Dekun, Edward Mass, Char Aznable, the Red Comet, and I'm sorry, but this is legit his name, Quattro Bagina. Sure. I have never watched any Gundam at all. Ian?
Really?
Never.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Not a one?
No. Here's the thing.
Wow.
Ian, let's take this in context. the time when Toonami was popular and big originally, the first time, I didn't have cable. So I never saw anything like Gundam related or anything people watched on cable, anything people were into in Toonami or like early Adult Swim stuff. Like very rarely did I ever see any of that stuff. Like going over to friends' houses and staying the night was the most I saw of a lot of cable. So yeah.
Okay.
I missed out on a lot of things.
I have had only a small sampling of Gundam. Like Pap said, I was introduced to it by Gundam Wing, which at the time I thought was high art and deep political commentary. And no.
Well, I mean, it's giant robots. That's amazing political commentary.
But we'll get to that. But like, okay, so the original Gundam, I've not seen a ton of it, but it definitely has an undercurrent of realism to it. You have the very basic premise of the space colonies have been established in the near future. They say, why do we need to be regulated by the rules of Earth? We should be able to do our own thing. We should be able to self-govern. And Earth says, nuh-uh. And they say, yeah-huh. And they kill each other over it. I'm vastly simplifying it. But what little I did see of the original Gundam treated the Gundams as a futuristic piece of military hardware in addition to tanks and planes and other support craft. Yeah, it was giant robot people things, but it was treated much more in a grounded fashion. And the conflict was addressed with the whole ideal of the horrors of war and how conflicting ideologies bring about misery for those caught in the middle. And in that regard, I can see why it has spun out so much from it and why it's held in such high regard. I didn't get too deep into it because it's a little slow paced for me being an older show, and reading up on it, I'm not wild about the concept of the new types and all that. I feel like that kind of betrays the core realism of the show, but I've not seen it. I am not really one to critique. Gundam Wing is taking that premise and going super anime with it, where you have your 5 pretty boys in their super stylized gimmick mechs that are nigh invulnerable, even though they act like they're in trouble. They're not. Everything has got an on-the-nose comparison to something, and the political intrigue, such as it is, leads to a revolution every, 10 episodes at most.
What is this, early Power Rangers?
It really is, and I was really into it with a few of my friends, and one of them eventually dropped out because he got tired of it. And I came back to him a few weeks later saying, you gotta watch it, it's great. And he's like, how many times has the government overthrown since I stopped watching? And I had this very self-reflective moment, and I said, 2? And he just kind of cracked up. So Gundam Wing is silly, but it's a fun kind of silly. The movie sequel, Endless Waltz, is freaking gorgeous, and I will never forgive them for not giving us a movie version of Epion and giving us the freaking Tall Geese 3. Nobody likes the Tall Geese. It's a stupid name. It's a boring mech. Give me the Epion. I want my giant mecha angel, giant mecha demon. You know what I'm talking about, Internet. Oh, missed opportunity. Other one I kind of followed for a bit was G Gundam, which is even more super anime, because the whole premise is that each country has their own nationally themed Gundam that fights in a giant global tournament to decide which country rules the world for a year.
That sounds awesome.
Like the American Gundam has a football helmet, and I believe attacks with a surfboard. It's been a while.
As it should. As it should. Correct.
Is it Holland that has a windmill Gundam? It's just it's a windmill with a head and legs, Kyle. It is super wacky. The bad guy has a Gundam with a Gundam horse. A giant mecha horse. It's so stupid. I love it. It is like the epitome of dumb anime in the fun way. The other one I hold in super high regard is 08 MS Team, which is kind of a spinoff to the main line. Follows a particular unit during the war. And even though it's an older show, the quality of the animation is just gorgeous. There's a particular fight at the end of the series that is phenomenal, start to finish. You should just watch it by itself. It's so freaking pretty. And while it kind of pushes the line on that Gundams are a realistic piece of equipment line, I mean, if you're going to just assume that, that's where the line is. But it still feels very grounded in the technology overall. The end boss still feels like a vehicle or a weapon, I guess, if you dig me. But I don't know, I really, really like 08 MS team. But beyond that, I haven't really had a lot of experience with Gundam. So I know of it, I have sampled it, and I have a respect for it for being such a long-running and influential series.
Oh, sure. You mentioned a something named tKoS earlier, and now I'm just imagining a Gundam going around messing with people. Untitled tKoS game.
No, the tKoS is so freaking stupid, man. Like, it was the first Gundam, I guess. Forgive me, it's been a while. But he's kind of like this vaguely Roman gladiator-esque thing.
Okay,
and it's supposed to be like super outdated, but it's also super freaking powerful. And it's so powerful that it like hurts the pilot because it's just so many G's or whatever, and it gets blown up. And then they get a tKoS 2, which is supposed to be even better, but it's like not remarkable in any regard. And then the tKoS 3 is the movie version, and it's got an all right design, but the Epion, man. The Epion was like the evil devil-themed Gundam, and it turned into a dragon to fly around. It was so freaking cool.
Well, I mean, the tKoS looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm
compared to the other ones, man.
I suppose. Let's see. tKoS 2 is just similar, but purple. And then tKoS Valkyrie. I don't know, man. tKoS, that's a weird name.
It is. Why is it the tKoS? It doesn't make any. I don't think it's a mistranslation either. Poor localization. It's just tKoS.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know anything about these giant robots, man. I just know they're giant and they're robot-y. That's all I know. And there's someone named Quattro Bagina.
See, this is. If you know the answer to this, internet, please educate me. The 5 pilots, I'm pretty sure, are supposed to have a numerical theme to their name. But I don't know the specifics for some of the names and how they're supposed to translate. So
well, I mean,
I don't get why Hero is 1, Duo is clearly 2, Tro is obviously 3, Katra is clearly 4, and I don't get Wufei is 5. So if you know, comment below. Tell me. Educate me.
Well, there's also Quattro. That's 4.
Well, Quattro, they said they called him Katra in the show. But
Katra is the character from She-Ra.
Let's not go there.
Okay. Anyway. See, you can tell I don't know anything about Gundam because I called them Quattro instead of Catro. Anyway.
It might be that it was intended to be Quattro.
Who knows?
I've ranted about Gundam way too long.
yeah. I didn't know we'd get this much mileage out of this question because I was like, All right. Next up, we got a couple of questions from Kofi. First up, from Son Amy channel. Ian Flynn, what was the point of Amy confessing and telling Sonic she loves him and why she loves him in IDW Sonic issue number 2 if no relationship is ever going to be developed between them in the comics and the games? It's sad, after 27 plus years, Sega still doesn't want Amy to win Sonic.
Because this is a new book for new people, and they may not necessarily know what the dynamic between Amy and Sonic is. So that issue was meant primarily to establish who they were in this new incarnation of the book and what their relationship was.
All right, next one is from PC the Unicorn. Hey, Ian, I'm curious to know how you went about deciding who would be infected during the Zombot arc, along with how you decided the matchups for the Zeti. In an early version, for instance, was Vector the remaining Chaotix instead of Espio? And for the matchups, did you base it more on how effective characters would be against a certain Zeti, or more so for the story that could be told? After all, strategically speaking, the Babylon Rogues seem like they would have been a better mashup for Zomam, for instance, due to their speed. Is Zomam?
Zomam.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a spin on, Nom.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, wait a minute, what? What's going on here? What is? Yeah, okay. I see.
In terms of who got infected when and why, that was built pretty much entirely for escalation. Sonic was infected Rough and Tumble technically got infected first because they're the mooks. We don't really care what happens to them. They can be infected and blown up and injured and whatever. That's fine. But then Sonic gets infected, and then oh, wait, the hero who can solve all the problems is now a problem. What do you do with that? And each one after that was to make things worse, to make it clear that no one was safe and nothing was sacred. Charmy gets infected. Oh, so the innocent children are not safe. When Cream shows up, that's going to be a problem. And when the infection started spreading to Cream's village, we get Cheese and Chocolate, because while Cheese is integral to Cream's whole identity and it hurts to see him go, his loss is not nearly as bad as her mother's. So that leaves that twist of the knife for later. Vector is the competent leader of the Chaotix, goofy as he is. Once you remove him, where does the leadership go? It all falls on Espio. Each and every one was meant to be to remove any sense of security as the story progressed. Shadow, the most powerful character in the series, arguably, he goes down. Well, what are you going to do now? You don't have Chaos Control to bail you out. Each and every one was meant to be a stepping stone to make you feel like things were losing control. And given the reactions I've seen online, it worked. As for the matchups against the Zeti, I was thinking more thematic, as long as it made sense within the context of the story. So you've got, with the Babylon Rogues, the brash and disobedient hooligans that they are, against the measured and wizened old Zeke. The original pitch had Knuckles and Espio, the two most disciplined fighters, going up against Zaz, who was the wild berserker. Cream, who is the most innocent and polite and altruistic of everyone, goes up against Xena, who is the most self-centered and obnoxious and bitchy character you can think of the entire franchise, which is an impressive feat in its own right. So that's primarily where I was thinking and trying to build from there. I ran into some issues with approvals on what I could and couldn't do, such as Knuckles apparently would never leave the Master Emerald. But in the end, I think it turned out all right.
Yeah. All right, next one is from Spirit CD. How would you feel if IDW Sonic got an animated adaptation for Japanese television? Something akin to an anime adaptation of a manga.
I would be very happy.
Yes, that would be awesome. Next question is from Diane W. Was Espio's backstory in the Archie comic inspired by your headcanon backstory for Espio? Or is it something else entirely?
No, that was just me trying to build off of what was established beforehand. We didn't get a ton about the chameleons as a culture or a people. And what was presented, I tried to fold into the larger narrative I was doing with the Journey to the East story. It's not like I went into it thinking, yes, Espio has always been a hidden ninja full of secrets. It was, let's put these pieces together in the way that makes the most sense.
All right, next one is from Andrew D. You mentioned that IDW had a meeting of sorts for everyone to discuss how the Freedom Fighters could potentially be introduced. How long ago was that, and what exactly is considered on the table for what Sega owns with the Freedom Fighters? I know everything from Archie is off the table, but does that mean everything from the DiC cartoon is on the table?
I never said we had a meeting.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
I said we had a kind of impromptu, informal jam session online where we just kind of threw around ideas for fun, but that's it. There was no meeting, there was no minutes, there was no formal discussion. It was, man, I had this neat idea. Wouldn't it be cool if we did it this way? Oh, yeah, that would be cool. What if we did it this way? Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, what if we couldn't do this? Well, what if we did it that way? Just back and forth, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing seriously discussed. There is nothing on the table, and there are no parameters to work under. So what is on the table is what Sega puts on the table. And they haven't even invited us over for dinner yet. So there is no table. There's nothing on the table. There is nothing to table the discussion about. Oops, ego got bigger. Laughed at my own joke.
Oh no! Oh no! See what you've done. You're global cooling, Ian. Thank you. We appreciate it.
When it pops, all that hot air will warm it back up again.
Ah, good point. Good point. Dang it. Oh well. Let's answer this question from Chris A. then before that happens. Does Nicole have a mother in the post-reboot of Archie Sonic that is related to Conquering Storm, since Sonic, Tails, Sally, Rotor, and Cream have mothers as well? She's a computer.
Well, no.
But, okay.
Not sure.
Go ahead.
Not sure where the Conquering Storm connection comes from, aside from Species, but...
Yeah, that's the only thing I think of.
I asked Aaliyah about this because I couldn't remember. And she said we had some vague idea that whatever genetic degenerative disease that Nikki had probably came from her mother, and nobody really understood it, which is why she lost her mother and why Elodie lost Nikki as well.
Okay.
So,
I see this might be more along the lines of what he's asking. Okay, yeah, I understand. Anyway, go ahead.
So, I mean, Nicole isn't Nikki. That was one of the things that was established in the arc, is that she's, if anything, kind of a sister to her. But given that she was kind of born from Nikki and Nikki was born from Elodie's wife, we'll just call it all one big happy family. Keep it simple.
Sure. And finally, we're at the last question for you, Ian, from Blue Title Gamer. With your main writer run of IDW Sonic wrapped up, what would you say was your favorite moment from the run to write? Thank you so much for all you've done for the series so far. Looking forward to Bad Guys and whatever role you have next for IDW Sonic in the future.
Favorite moment? Oh my goodness. That is a tricky one, because some of it is influenced by how well it was received, you know?
Right.
Like a particular moment that I thought, okay, that was fun. I like how this turned out. I like how the artist rendered it. And then it just resonated with the readers. It's like, oh yeah, this moment is great. I totally love it. Always did. We've already covered in a past show, the most heartbreaking moments during the Metal Virus saga. And I'm proud of those and what they were able to accomplish within the readers. But in terms of not soul-crushing despair, the introductions of each of the new characters, I think, was a highlight, because these were different from the previous OCs that had made it in the books, and that Sega actually had a heavy hand in their creation. So that gave them this sense of, I don't want to say legitimacy, but I can't think of a better word. The entire fight between Sonic and Neo Metal, because Adam Bryce Thomas is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, that was great.
That was anime as hell, dude, and I love it. Everybody coming together to take down Neo Overlord, just Super Neo walking down the stairs. Just there. And you know what? This is probably kind of a cop-out, but having written it for so long and having had control yanked out of my hands twice, being able to come back to it so soon after and still play with the toys, but in a new way, was a big highlight in and of itself. Sonic has been part of my life for a disturbingly long time. And it was nice to be able to come back to it without having to say goodbye on such a sour note,
Right, yeah.
And I'm still not done with it. We've got Bad Guys coming up, and I've got more stuff coming up within the main book. But, for a 32-issue run, man, right out of the gate, 36 if you want to count Tangle and Whisper.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that feels like a bit of a blessing, if we're going to get all philosophical on it.
Yeah. It's there's not many writers get that long of a run on a comic. I mean, you got a super long run on Archie Sonic, but that seems to be the exception to the rule. And again, even 32 issues or 36 issues is another exception to the rule. So yeah, and the fact that you're still around and you're still going to be here, and
I mean, I must be doing something right.
I guess they think they must think you're okay, in spite of everything that's happened. They must think you're okay, in spite of everything that's gone on, and the influence some people have had or have tried to have. So yeah, you're still here. You're a resilient man. You're a fighter, dude. So
I'm
excellent.
Still standing and writing my hedgehog books.
Excellent. Yes.
We're going to wrap up with another question from Blue Title Gamer for you, Kyle.
Uh-oh.
What are some of your favorite TV shows or movies from overseas? Countries like Japan, Britain, any country. No top 5 favorites this time. I'll go easier on you.
Let's see. Well, TV is kind of limited for me from overseas stuff. I definitely had quite enjoyed the original incarnation of Top Gear, by which I mean the 2003 incarnation of Top Gear, and I still watch Grand Tour, which is essentially a continuation, and quite enjoy it. It hits all the perfect notes for me of belligerent old men angry at each other, and fast cars and cool cars. So yes, I'm into it. Let's see what else. I guess there's only one anime there's a few anime I've watched that I've liked, but the one that I always kind of go back to, the one I still think about most often these days is Furikuri. And I haven't watched it in ages. I don't know if I would still like it if I watched it again, but at the time I did, and I think I still would. It's got that just level of silly charm to it that I think I would still like. Otherwise, as far as movies, let's see. Shin Godzilla is a good one.
I still haven't seen that.
Oh, it's freaking wild. It kind of starts off the expectations. My expectations kind of low to start off. I mean, I knew it was going to build up to something pretty big because I'd heard a lot about it, but I didn't know exactly where it was going and what was going to happen. And what does happen ends up being kind of like, oh boy. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating in terms of thinking about it, as far as what it's inspired by, which is the tsunami and the nuclear reactor meltdown, and sort of the out of control nature of what was going on at that time, and how it's sort of a reflection. It's very similarly to how the original movie was a reflection of the way Japan felt following the atomic bombs dropping on them in World War II. So it has that sort of a weirdly introspective feel, also with giant monster all-out rampage. It's pretty fascinating. I'm trying to think of like other movies and things that I've liked. I can't think of any off the top of my head because I can't think of like where, like when I think of a movie, I don't remember where it's made necessarily. So I'm like, is that something from overseas? I don't know. So, but there's a few here and there that I have enjoyed. Do you have any, Ian?
Well, there's a series called Gundam that's developed in Japan.
Yes.
I'm kind of like you. I don't really pay too much attention of where the entertainment comes from.
At this point, there's so much like worldwide involvement for certain things too. It's like, what do you consider a product of overseas? Like,
would you count the Lord of the Rings films as a New Zealand film?
Yeah. Or, I don't know, something animated in France as a French cartoon. I mean,
Now, in the terms of Whack Fu, absolutely, we could do an entire episode of me geeking out about that.
yeah.
We're already going a little
Scruffymatt,
long. So.
yeah, is bringing up James Bond in the chat here, and yeah, that's a good one. I completely was like, yeah, James Bond, obviously, that's a British institution. I mean, yeah. So I just wasn't thinking in terms of, oh yeah, James Bond is British, and I don't know, it's weird. It's so universal at this point. It's almost like it just slips my mind that it's British. But yes, James Bond is definitely British.
Have they been written by British screenwriters? Have they been filmed by British filmmakers? I don't feel like the last few Bond films have felt particularly British in tone or presentation.
Yeah, it's kind of another thing of productions being so worldwide now. Like you may have a British made movie, but it's filmed, say, in America or in various places across Europe and Asia. So it's difficult to say. So, but yeah, that's probably about all I can come up with for now. And with that, we're actually at the end of this episode of the BumbleKast. That was our final question. So we have a lot. We had a lot there to sink your teeth into. Hope you enjoyed it.
Before we say goodbye, we're going to say thank you to all the patrons who made this show possible. Big thank you to Piggy Bank, Groovy K2000, Daniel B, Somewhat Gooey, Rachel W, Galbzilla, Invade Turbo Tunis, Chaos Universe, Scorched Freedom, Sonic Legacy, Lauren W, Jonathan D, Jennifer H, Sony, Owen BD, Preston M, Salute Your Cat, Blue Title Gamer, Koopling Crew 128, Yami M, Andrew D, Final Neil, Tick Tick, Justin S, Papadripadopoulos, Silly String, Takaro, Overthinking Films, Lisa M, Torchbound, Scruffymatt, Dawn B, Chevelle, Chris A, Duas Disden, John B, John M, Jennifer R, Mike B, Samuel P, Robotnik Holmes, Daniel H, Alex P, Justin G, Dave M, James K, and Sam Cybercat.
Excellent. Thank you to all you wonderful people who have helped us and supported us over time. We've also got a few Ko-fi people who asked a question this month. So thank you to Son Amy Channel and PC the Unicorn. And I should say this week, not this month. Whatever. It's fine. Don't worry
Time's
about
going
it.
fast, but not that fast.
Don't worry about it too much. So, yeah, anyway, Ian, where can people go on the internet to find you after this is over?
You can find me on Twitter at Ian Flynn BKC. Find my personal website at bumbleking.com. Also, read my original webcomic, drogoon.com, for free, and find a variety of links for ways you can subscribe, other spin-off material, and ways that you can support the book. Kyle, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter at KyleJCRB. You can also head on over to kngi.org, where you can find archived episodes of the BumbleKast in MP3 downloadable format for your listening pleasure on any device. You can also check out my other show, Nitro Game Injection, which streams live on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's all about video game music, remixes, arrangements, covers, and all that fun stuff that people do on the internet. And I play them, and I talk about them, and we have a good time. So you can tune in live on that, or you can listen to the archives on kngi.org as well.
You can contact the show at BumbleKast on Twitter, email us at bumblecast@yahoo.com. And you can listen to episodes on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, our particular YouTube channel, or also on kngi.org.
Yes, the Amazon Music has officially launched the Amazon Music. Yes, I'm going to say it like a boomer. You're welcome. Yes, Amazon has launched their Amazon Music service, which features podcasts, and we're on it. So if you happen to listen to Amazon Music, you can now listen to the BumbleKast on Amazon Music.
You can also support the show by buying merchandise over on the Bumble store. That's shop.spreadshirt.com/Bumble store. We have a variety of BumbleKast related imagery that you're going to plaster onto all sorts of things and give them money, and they will give you the thing.
Merchandising. Don't forget to also check out BumbleKast Gaming live streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/BumbleKast Gaming. Now that I am back, I should be able to stream some more, but you can pretty much almost always check us out on Sundays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And keep an eye on Twitter or follow us on Twitch to get announcements for other times that we might be streaming as well.
That's going to wrap up the Patron episode for this week. We will see you on Wednesday for the standard Q&A episode. Cheers, everybody.
See you later. It's over.
And we'll see you Sunday. Awesome Cross 96.
I miss Awesome Cross. My favorite cross.
Offer still out there. You raise enough money, I will do an entire show in a character voice. I'm that desperate.
my favorite cross is Awesome Cross.
1 second. Midna? Hey! Nah, she turned around. Sorry, Cat was getting into things.
Uh-oh. You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Come on, Lungs. We only have to do this for like a half hour.
Come on, Ian. You can do it. No, Ian, stop.
What?
Don't use up your voice for silly things. This is not a silly show.
The fact that we've lasted this long is silly enough.
Exactly. Anyway, carry on.